I tell you what, in the world of Newcastle, when it rains, it pours. Literally, the moment Newcastle are having their Champions League fixtures announced on the screen in front of the world, breaking news that Newcastle United have finally agreed to sign a striker this summer window. It is the Stuttgart 23-year-old Woltemade, Nick Woltemade. Going to talk about him, talk about Wizard, Strand Larsen, the Champions League fixtures in this video. If you are happy to see Newcastle, and it's coming out everywhere. National Press, Sky Sports, Romano, everyone, their dogs reporting this one, that it's not just that Newcastle have agreed it, they've agreed terms with the player, and that it's a done deal. If you are happy to see Newcastle bring in what is being reported as a €90 million striker to the club, drop a like on this video. And I tell you what, obviously I am not going to cheer anything too loudly until it's officially done, because we have had our fingers burnt far too many times this window. But I have to say, in terms of PR, press, and in a way to announce us finally bringing in that big name striker, doing it while the whole world is already watching us on TNT Sports, is the way to do it. And we'll talk about those Champions League games right now, because Newcastle know the 8 teams we will be playing across the next few months. And I tell you what, there's some corkers in here. Let me know in the comments which game you are most excited for. And these are not in order. The actual fixtures will be released on Saturday. So we will take on Barcelona at home. I hope that's the first game. That for me is the one that's screaming out to me. Similar to how PSG was the first home game at St. James's Park last time, Barcelona at St. James's, first game back for the Champions League this season would be fantastic. The away game for pot 1 is PSG. We've got a little bit of beef with PSG after last time round, so can we go and fix that wrong after we got screwed with the late penalty last time? They are a fantastic side. I think I would have rather just take our win and move on, to be honest, not have to redo that one. But here we are, we're doing it. Next up, pot 2, Leverkusen away, Benfica at home. I like the Benfica one. Leverkusen will be tough. Again, that's 4 pretty cool fixtures, I'll go as far to say, but none of them are going to be easy. Into pot 3 now, Marseille away. Don't mind a bit of that with PSV at home. You could argue that even into pot 3 now, we've got some pretty difficult fixtures. And then we'll finish off pot 4 with Athletic Club at home and Union SG away. So I'll tell you what, Barcelona, PSG, Bayer Leverkusen, Benfica, Marseille, PSV, Athletic Club and Union SG. Thoughts and comments on that fixture list down below. I knew I was excited for these fixtures to be released. How can you not be excited for that one? Some massive games under the lights at St. James's and some fantastic away days in there as well. I think Marseille, two trips to France, both PSG and Marseille. Maybe you could have asked for a different country there. I think Bayer Leverkusen, obviously, we did Dortmund last time around. That was an absolute, that was awesome. Really liked it over in Germany. So yes, thoughts and comments on which game there you are most excited for. But as I say, just watching us sitting down, flicking on the TNT. Let's find out what the fixtures are. That wasn't enough. Breaking news across the whole of social media that after this consistent saga of strikers, Newcastle have seemingly got a deal done. And again, I use deal done very lightly. But that is what's being reported. That is what Sky Sports are saying. Sky Sports are saying that Woltemade's agent is already in Newcastle and that he is set to land himself on Tyneside tomorrow for a medical to join the club. I'm just reading as I'm going. Initially announced at a €90 million deal. 85 million euros plus 5. Keith Downey has actually come in just a moment ago saying that it's actually £60 million plus 5. So even with the conversion, I think 65 million is still less than what was initially announced by Sky originally, but still a chunky fee for a very good player. German, international, I think has featured for Germany, although hasn't made loads of appearances just yet. just 23 years old, so certainly the career ahead of him. And I think got 12 to 15 goals for Stuttgart last season. Certainly a serious talent. And obviously at this point in the window, it was clear that Newcastle were going to have to pay up some decent money to bring in a good player. Clearly, the conversations with Wizza for 50 million, with Strand Larsen for 60 million, those fees were getting very high. I think if you're going to pay that amount of money, we've had conversations like this really all summer window. And in fairness, my conversations was more around the fact of go to Europe, go to Germany, go to France. But the idea was that maybe we could pick up someone maybe a little less known for a 20 million fee. But generally speaking, shopping in the Premier League market was always going to lead to excessive fees. To go and get, Woltemade for the same price as what Brentford were wanting Wizza for, I think is an absolute steal. Thoughts and comments on Woltemade joining Newcastle. Let me know what you think will happen next. Is that Newcastle striker done? And we will now enter the season with him and Alexander Isak as our two front strikers. Or does this open the door for an Alexander Isak exit? I would still like... this is massive, and obviously I'm still quite hesitant on how much I'm jumping up and down as I'm talking because we have had our fingers burnt many, many times, but it would look like Newcastle have tried to pull off a little bit of a press move here. Like the whole world's watching the Champions League draw, the whole world's talking about Newcastle, the whole world, well, I'm saying the whole world, I'm talking about it. I'm sure lots of people are talking about it, but lots of people in Europe certainly are interested in the Champions League draw. Oh my God, Newcastle versus Barcelona. Oh my God, PSG versus Newcastle. By the way, suddenly, all of the local press, all of the national press, at the same time, they've announced a done deal. Me thinks that Newcastle might have had this plan for some time and have gone ahead and told all of the journalists, by the way, when the third pot draw for Newcastle gets drawn, can you please put out the breaking news that they have agreed this deal? And as I say, I still like Strand Larsen and I still like Wizza. And I would argue that if we could bring either one of them to the club still at this point, I would like it to happen. But it's clear that they were taking a long time, and I'm happy that Newcastle have taken a step to one side and actually looked at a different market and to get something done. We are very close to the end of it. We're so close to the end of the window now that literally today, this lunchtime, I was talking to people at work about how the fact that I think it's over and that we will start the season with Asula. So I have to say, I was fairly done. I didn't think we would get a deal done. It sounds like we've gone and done it. And look, if there's an opportunity to still get a Larsen or a Wizza in, I would take it. I would go for it. Let's do it. Let's have two new strikers. And as I've mentioned, if Newcastle stand by the idea that they're not letting Isak go, they're not going to let him go because they want to prove a point, because they've said it since the start of the window, he shouldn't be rewarded for throwing his toys out the pram, I'll stand by all of that. But I'll be perfectly honest, I just don't need it. I don't need it. If we can move him on and Liverpool do pay the bid, because that's what's coming next. Liverpool reportedly didn't want to push on something where the door wasn't open. You would have to imagine, should Woltemade be in Newcastle tomorrow for a medical and a deal done with a T-shirt scarf above his head, that Isak bid won't be too far away. Thoughts and comments, like on the video if you are happy to see the Stuttgart striker join Newcastle, hopefully very, very soon for a big fee. We're doing it, and just in time for some very big Champions League games. Thanks for watching. Subscribe if you want to see content of me, the channel, Newcastle at the Champions League. Drop a subscribe. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch you later.